Okay, so I was gently nudged back towards my point, which I do appreciate. I am quite a circuitous storyteller. Um, anyway, how has meditation, if at all, affected my work, my painting, my creativity? So I guess what we'd have to say to that is that the function of meditation in my life over the past few years, which I can honestly say I didn't realize fully what that was at first, but the kind of culmination of practicing it and experiencing it and experimenting with it over the last 2 years has recently, it's dawned on me that its function has been healing. I think that the functions of meditation are probably vast and endless. But initially, I think what we all need is healing. We're sensitive, and when we have pain, trauma, emotions that we don't process, they get stored in our body. And I would even go further to say they get stored in our energy, because I have experience. And so what I'm going to go into is kind of what happened next in this journey of healing. And it was about stored trauma. And I'd just like to say that the more you release of this pain or trauma or old patterns that aren't serving, that perhaps were created as a protection in a time where that was the best you could do and it did protect you, the more you release that, the kind of higher and more clean or pure your energy is, and what happens is your perspective changes. And so you can be in your same apartment, in your same studio, in your same city, with your same friends and family, and it all looks different. So just imagine if you have a more loving perspective, a more loving view on the world, then that's going to affect every part of your life and especially your creativity. So the general answer to how meditation has helped my work and creativity is that I'm no longer running patterns of seeking approval from outside of myself to define my worth. And I was doing that. I was desperately trying to achieve some sort of greatness that would be recognized outside of me and that I could hear or see reflected back at me from others, and was hoping that eventually I would feel like I was worth something. And no matter how much I accomplished and how much people admired it, it never felt like I had accomplished anything. It's a losing game. So the meditation and relieving all these old energy, density, patterns, trauma, like I'm saying, allowed me to have more self-love and therefore value myself more and be able to be like, you know what, I like this. This is what I like. This is what I want to make. I like making this. And then the work shines with truth and purity, and your own love for yourself. And so it's better for the world, and people feel that. So that's the answer. So I made this a long one so that I could then go into the fun and interesting things that happened next. So next, I had some spontaneous past life regressions. Of course, I didn't exactly know what they were at first, but kind of caught the hang of it after a few of them happened. And this was all in the first 2 weeks. And so one day, actually it was interesting because I'd remembered my aunt had done my astrology chart, and she had said, you have no water in your chart. You need to find a way to put water in your life, in your experience. And so I don't know, I was just thinking about water and why I don't have any. And, I have a hard time flowing and I get stuck. And I laid down to meditate, and there was this dripping sound. And I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere, and it was like annoying. And now since then, I've realized that oftentimes when your body, soul, whatever, is ready to release something that it doesn't need anymore, there's often an irritation that prompts the release. And it could be like whatever the thing is will start annoying you. And at first, it's like your ego fighting back because it's simplistic and doesn't understand that the pattern that you're trying to release isn't actually helping you anymore, which is why it was initially created. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm laying down to meditate. I'm hearing this dripping, and I get up like 5 times. I can't find the dripping. And finally, I'm like, I think this is a spiritual drip. And so I just release control and I go into this meditation. And first, it takes me back to something that happened in my early childhood when I was a baby, still in diapers. And what's interesting is that I was watching it, and I remember remembering it as a little kid, like as a 3-year-old. I remember it being my memory, but had forgotten it since. And it was me. I'd fallen into a public pool in my diaper, and I was just on all fours at the bottom of this pool looking up at like the muffled noise above of like all the adults freaking out. And then I went back again, but this time into a past life. Now, the first thing, I often hear things and see things. The first thing I heard was the words black velvet. And then I saw a woman, and she was wearing a black velvet. I don't know if I could tell the dress was black velvet, but I'm assuming. And it was like, I don't know, 1870s something, I'm guessing. I'm not a costume historian, but like a black dress, kind of like corsety, a little mini bustle, like cowboy movie days, 1860s, I don't know. And I knew we were in Spain, and I knew that, so I just knew things. I saw her, she was on this cliff, this bluff near the ocean, and I knew that her daughter had died of influenza, and I knew that her husband did not understand or sympathize with her grief, and I knew that the next thing that she did was flung herself off the cliff. And then I will get to another weird thing that happened, because meditation isn't linear, and sometimes things layer on top of each other at the same time, and you have to unscramble them later. So 2 things happened at once here, but it's a different subject. So I'm just going to stick with the regressions first, and then we'll go back to that. But bookmark that, dog ear that. Yeah, and so then the next one, maybe the next day, because it was just like one after another, was I'm like on a farm. It's kind of like a hot state, hot summer, like flat lands, no mountains, just blistering hot land, like a farm. It feels also kind of like maybe early 1900s. And there's just like a young man with blonde hair, really ruddy, sweaty, kind of bulky looking. And I just knew his dad is mean, and really mean, and he wants to get off this farm. And then I see him older in a whorehouse, and he's creeping, like really like looking at, like I see side boob and like he's just like